It began as a joke, a Chief Justice offhand remark about cockroaches. Weeks later, it has pulled over a lakh of students onto the streets of Delhi, forced a union minister on the back foot, and put a question mark about how both the government and the national media understood India's youth. The Cockroach Janata Party protest may have started at Jantar Mantar, but its aftermath is now a story about politics, economics, and a generation that refuses to be written off. Joining me in this episode of Talking Sense with Srini to unpack this is Srinivasan, the editor in chief of The Federal, and renowned economist Kalaiyarasan. Let's get into it. So, before we get into the implications of the protest, I wanted to start with the trigger. Do you think it's really just about the NEET paper leak, or was it like something larger at play here?
Well, it all started with CJP calling for a agitation uh, at Jantar Mantar. It all started with that. For first 20 days, nothing much happened. But only when Sonam Wangchuk came and sat in a hunger strike, it picked up momentum. So till then, it was largely thought as a single issue. That's what everybody was thinking, perhaps. But what was happening parallelly is Rahul Gandhi was also holding a series of other rallies around the country, and particularly two. One he did in Kota, and the second one he did, I think, in Dehradun. Chhatron ki Gunj. He was trying to reflect on the problems being faced by the youth. So, in that sense, there has been a larger attempt by the Congress party to bring uh, education related issues to the larger public. But the sudden turn which happened after the hunger strike of Sonam Wangchuk brought the focus sharply on the protesters. But again, with his arrest, most people thought, or his not arrest, his detention, and he's being taken away to hospital for better treatment. People thought, many observers thought that the matter would be more or less over. Even I would be one of those who thought probably the government would be able to handle it. But what happened subsequently is a big surprise, which tells us that this was only a trigger. NEET became a trigger, but there are lots of underlying issues which are could be social issues, political issues, and also economic issues. And I think end of the day is economy stupid.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Mr. Srinivasan, and definitely it is a NEET. This exam, this is a definitely trigger. The protest around the NEET exam is a trigger. I think there's several factors definitely converging. I would think of classifying in the sake of thing. Would definitely in education is not just a NEET. There's a series of other exams too, as Mr. Srinivasan listed out. But more importantly, of I would also think of economic issues, and we should also think of this protest as a wider that protest that we have been seeing across world, that we saw a few years before in Sri Lanka, a year before in Nepal and Bangladesh. Bangladesh so much so the both countries actually in fact dislodged governments is such a level of protest. So which actually also points out there's some kind of crisis or the legitimate crisis of the established government or some kind of trust deficit in the institutions. Keeping that aside, coming back to the I think core issue that this youth today I think are anxious about, my reading is of future, in particular of what actually lies in the future with respect to jobs, opportunities. And if you say 10 years before, we all, middle class, most of the middle class houses, there's a famous, anecdotal thing, stories which actually are also on news, social media, etc. That the final, the retirement salary of the parents would be lesser than the first time salary of the youth of the someone who gets into the IT, but no longer case today. That I don't see happening that. And also the transition from education to the employment is definitely either it's broken or a bleak. Why I say this? What is evidence for this? Is it that anecdotal evidence? Let me provide some evidence. If you look at the latest survey, the periodic labor force survey, particularly take this cohort of the Gen Z population who are on the road, which is the age of 15 to 26. That's the age exactly is meant for a Gen Z, and for millennials, it is seen as 27 to 42 are the millennials. So this age cohorts, if you take look at the disaggregate the numbers and see what is the percentage actually who are struggling in terms of employment. Almost 30% of this section do not really struggling for jobs, and those who even those who received some kind of jobs are not really of the kind that one would have expected, say 10 years before. If you graduate as an engineering, even with a decent college, I don't think that's happening now. So this is definitely, that is somewhere undercurrent shaping this anxiety, because the protest, those who are in the protest, not the guys who actually write the exams. There are also guys you find across sections, across population, and even within the age group, that's not really directly connected to the exams. Why are they there? I think that is also a thing we need to factor in. What is happening in our economy? What is wrong with our economy? Is it doing well? Or what are the fundamental questions that I think we need to think of those.
And I think this whole protest has kind of changed the perception around Gen Z. And I'm asking both of you this. The general perception of Gen Z being frivolous and who are like always watching reels and they're like lazy. That whole thing has been changed by what happened there in the Jantar Mantar.
Yeah, certainly. I think this 20th July must have changed a perception in most people's heads. Probably the older generation always thinks, doesn't think much of the next generation. That's been the trend. But it's actually always proven otherwise. The Gen Next is always proved to be much smarter than the previous one. And in this particular case is no exception. What they perhaps have pulled out on July 20th in Delhi is remarkable. It's actually much greater than what happened even during 2011, 12, running up to 13, the entire Anna Hazare movement and all those kind of things. I think there is a very interesting article which is written by Sanket in Federal, and he clearly points out that compares the two situations and say how that time the government was pretty liberal as opposed to this particular government, which is keeping a very tight leash over everything. And at that time, they were backed by a particular political force, which is basically both RSS and BJP. Anna Hazare movement was also very strongly backed by, which later turned out to be Aam Aadmi Party. These political forces are very much behind the scene, but in this case, it's largely a cohort of students who started, as you say, in a satirical way, based on the one single statement made by Chief Justice of India, Surya Kant, that we are the cockroaches. From there, turning this into something where, I mean, one of my colleagues today described very colorfully that once the bottle opened, a lot of cockroaches came out and nobody knew where they came out from. I mean, that's what happened yesterday. So in that sense, Gen Z has actually proven in a way that they are not almost concentrating their attention on screens, digital screens, but they can also hit the street.
No, I think I completely agree. This has happened, no, it's in every generation, as you mentioned. We all give privilege to the past, and our time we used to do, we always. So I think Gens now prove that again, once again, that they are more smarter, more superior in their understanding their own ways. Perhaps we others don't understand that. But the point here is, I think, why this is also important. We need to also keep it in mind, despite there's a comparison being made, of course, of this Gen Z movement, or the the protests in Delhi with the up in 2011, 12, around that time. One difference, in fact, we must draw that between 2004, 2014, if at all, if you want, economic historian tracks the history of India's economic history, I think probably is, in retrospect, if you see, it is probably, I would think of the golden period. It actually delivered well in terms of growth. It also delivered well in employment. It also delivered well in all the redistributive measures. If you compare this 2014 to now 2024 or 26, this is an official estimate, nothing in politics here. I'm talking about numbers. I'm talking purely on based on evidence. Definitely, this growth rate has not been as good as it used to be. And even the employment generation per unit of growth, if the typically economists calls an employment elasticity per unit of GDP increasing, it is much lower. It's actually known fact now. There's nothing here of politics. So even the private investment last, if you look at 10 years, is much lower than its ratio to GSDP as compared to the year 10 years before, which in fact I would think of as a dream run. So now all of this put together, there's something is missing here. I think that every youth getting into education feels to have something in the future, that the aspiration to the middle class, the pathways, I think seems to be broken. That is why we see the huge anxiety and the anger that actually visible in the protest today. But I also want to make one more point here. Compared to others, this is also a movement where I think it attracts people across the spectrum of
Yes.
society. If you look at the previous mobilization, I'm not a political scientist, but looking at the trend and listening to political scientists, it was the last protest we saw as the farmers' protest, and
Yes.
before that there was CAA and RCC, I mean NRC, CAA, and before. But I think this one actually, attracts, in fact, as a support wider. So that actually tells there's something deeper is it at stake. So I think we need to pay attention to what are those factors which drives people across.
Yeah,
community.
I would like to interject here. What he said is growth rate. I mean, one thing we said that we're going to be the fourth largest economy now, fifth actually. Now we come back to fourth. We'll be fastest among the fastest growing economy. That's the underlying point. Fastest growing large economy. We are so, but yes, that is true. If you were to compare ourselves with developing countries, we are growing, our growth rate is higher. But is it enough for a country at this stage of development? No. We need at least 6 to 7% is not enough. We need to cross 10% growth rate. I mean, we need much higher growth rate than what is happening. I think that's one reason that yes, there is a growth rate happening. Globally, you may be looking good, but then it is not translating what people are looking out here for. That's one. Second, the global situation is also turned pretty bad since last 1 year. The trade and related, the two wars, Ukraine and then now subsequently Iran, US, this is further complicated. It's put more pressure on the economy and the entire trade is upended the way US wanted to do it. That's another factor. The third factor is, I mean, this again, I'm not a political scientist or somebody, but from what I observe is the expectations are far more. And like he pointed out, it's unemployment, underemployment, wage not going up the way you expect. He compared the wage. Is the wage structure same? The other factor could be more sociological, maybe if you can throw some light, that Gen Z has largely grown in a digital environment, hasn't seen, I mean, they always, they have particular lifestyles, particular, they're used to certain facilities. In our time, it was a typewriter age. Now here it's all computer
I think
age.
it's definitely that matters. But before,
More people are flying now
Yeah.
than taking trains.
Yeah.
So there has been more people own cars now. So I think there have been a lot of changes as well. If you look at just urban India, but in rural also there have been changes.
See, this is again, since it's sociology, before entering into sociological aspects, I think just a few numbers might help us, put these things in a larger perspective. If you look at last 2 decades, the number of people who actually entered into higher education, triple, I mean 300%, 3 times.
Okay.
So now you have actually what economics, I mean, national level is 27%, in some states it goes to 50% of GER, class enrollment ratio. There is something called massification of education happening.
Right.
But which actually, as Mr. Srinivasan mentioned, that it actually generates aspirations. Anyone who gets into education institutions pay 4 years, he actually thinks not just about the degree. Of course, whether the degree will get a job is one thing, but the degree also offers so much expectation, so much dream. So which actually, whether if you are able to fulfill or not able to fulfill is the question, but also you acquire other, things in life, sociological, so which there is a mismatch between what this system offers and currently constrained to offer and what actually you acquire that, aspirations. There's a gap between this. Definitely, that is actually an important point that we need to make. And also, with again back to economic growth numbers, I have to make another caveat here. Although India is fourth the largest, if you convert that into per capita income, we are talking about fourth in size, and growth numbers and percentage, of course, growth. But if it will convert that into per capita income, it is not even a middle income country. India is. It is in fact lower than Indonesia, many of the global south countries.
Right.
So on top of that, we are also having another two, I would say. One is definitely external crisis, as I mentioned, of the trade and geopolitical. But there is also something that historically helped us of our own structural condition is failing us today. What are those? Which is, I think, I would not say it is almost we are in the movement of 1991 balance of payment crisis, but similar some kind of economic crisis. What are those? I think I would think it is very important with respect to jobs and when we are talking about economy, is we actually missed our manufacturing. We actually bypassed, from agriculture to service. We thought the service that would provide some kind of cushion in terms of foreign reserves and extra, which could run the generate keep growth going. But that is now not possible. Coming the AI and technology, and the software is not happening. The trade that the things that we historically we relied on, IT or the service sector, is no longer supporting. And we are running a current account deficit with the manufacturing, literally importing goods which are like basic goods. So this actually is a crisis, and the kind of investment that coming, even the limited investment coming, is not generating employment. So put all of this together, I think one level it might, some of the numbers might look as a good in relative terms, with the other similarly positioned global south countries. But I think we are in a very, very deep crisis. I think that's something we haven't paid enough attention. Good that this protest happened. I think that now at least we get back onto those fundamentals and think about what kind of growth that India needs to have. Not just the size of the economy, not just even the percentage of the growth, even the kind of growth. How much it generates jobs? Will it give enough wages to me? What is the percentage of wages that it goes? That is, the wage growth is commensurate to your economic growth, or even the current. One of the things this youth, I would see the anxiety coming from even their own seniors. If you happen to be in a college, you would know what your seniors are making in your company. If they say, man, it'll last for a few years, there's no even improvement in my annual wages. Earlier it used to be 30% annual if you shift. So now even 10% growth is salary growth is seen as a big thing in many companies, which definitely would bring back that information to those who are in the college. They feel that it is, what is my future? I think we need to bring all of this together to think why and how, what would this mean to us. Yeah.
On top of the economical implication, there is this big factor of the political implication of this protest. What is going to happen next? What is going to happen to the BJP? Has it revealed a chink in its armor? So I would want your comment on that.
Yeah, so let's quickly reflect upon what has happened last 2 days. The situation has certainly changed after 20th. I mean, yesterday and today are pretty different.
Yes.
Now, obviously, it has put BJP under a bit of pressure. It went into back foot and tried to play the game. What it did was, after relenting to take cognizance of the protest, nobody went there actually on behalf of the government. In fact, CPJ guys are saying not even a clerk has come to visit us. So from there, yesterday, basically then one of the ministers agreed to meet. CPJ guys went and met them. They had a exchange of memorandum, and then subsequently nothing much happened. Today, I think the government has further mellowed down. They have agreed to hold further negotiation, and agreed also to send. The court finally said, okay, Wangchuk could be sent to a private hospital. But meanwhile, the other developments which took place inside the parliament is important. All the India alliance partners went together in a delegation, met the speaker, and it appears that Rahul Gandhi has been kind of endorsed by everybody to lead the whole issue. So CPJ on first day, day one, they were the opening batsmen, if you call, for this agitation. What is important is how it is taken forward the next day. So today there's been a certain change. It has become more political now, with Congress party deciding to jump in, and Rahul and his sister Priyanka sat in a dharna outside, Prime Minister's house. Now it become a bigger political issue. But then there are other complications which have come. BJP is now trying to say that, look, this is a dialogue going on between us, the government, and the agitators. These are students, and we respect them. And in the morning, during addressing the alliance partner NDA meeting, Prime Minister made a very, very emotional speech. He said, we need to look after students. We should do the examination system should be improved. And he called upon all the NDA allies to work towards improving the situation in the respective states. All those statements he made. Basically, it has become a political battle where the opposition is looking who takes the credit, and the government is trying to ensure that the narrative doesn't get out of their hands. That is their worry. So if you look at today's development, that's what happened when Congress party hit the street. Aam Aadmi Party immediately realized at some point of time, some of these people, CPJ people, were ex-Aam Aadmi Party members, and some people are even suspecting, even Congress party was suspecting whether it is AAP 2.0. I mean, even that was a kind of one political stream going there. So what has today happened is AAP immediately came out with a statement saying that we suspect Rahul's agitation, whether he is trying to kind of delegitimize the CPJ protest. So it has gone into a rigmarole. It's gone into a political rigmarole. So one has to really see how far Rahul Gandhi is able to wrest this leadership. He has already wrested the leadership. How is he able to take it forward? Because he, like I said earlier, he did 2 successful rallies in Kota and in Dehradun, and also he's been talking for students, he's been talking for youth for quite some time. So he's been consistent on that. But then this whole political development which is happening in Delhi, how adroitly he handles it, how he takes it forward, and is now the ball is in his court. But on the other hand, BJP is also now trying to wrest back the initiative which they seem to have lost, at least for a day, how to bring it back. So you could see the narratives being built in a section of, not a section of, a large section of national media, saying that, basically the dialogue is going on between the students and the government, and they should be respected and should not be politicized. All those kinds of things are going on. So one has to wait and watch how consistent opposition is, because the entire opposition India alliance, which includes Trinamool Congress, which includes SP, Samajwadi Party, which includes NCP, that is national, the Sharad Pawar's NCP, all are now gravitating around Rahul. How he is able to lead this whole thing, because how consistent he is. I mean, that's a big question. He comes out with good initiative, but then loses the initiative somewhere in between, because how well he is able to implement, I mean, all those questions are there. So I think really we have to see how it develops politically in the next few days.
And one of the biggest question is, a lot of people missed, nobody saw this coming, especially the government and also the media.
Exactly.
And how did that happen?
Well, I mean, I would put it bluntly, I'm part of the media, we are all part of that. I mean, sitting in Chennai, of course, I failed to see that on Saturday but I could sense that somehow this government will try to, after the High Court expressed concern over Wangchu's health, he'll be whisked away, and then probably the agitation will be, kind of bottled. But again, Sunday when people started gathering, I was feeling maybe again the government would move on that. But I think on Monday when things started changing, everybody has misread, especially the media in Delhi. Whether they did it willingly or over the years, over the last 1 decade, the media, probably the national media and media in general, got so much of used to handouts that they probably missed how reporting is done. Probably they didn't have enough ears on the ground to sense what is happening, and it's a big miss. I mean, this is really, mainline media has completely missed it. They couldn't read what has happened. And in any case, Gen Z, I think they have stopped looking at the big media because they seem to have lost the credibility because it's been so delegitimized over the years, the big media, and what they call as, disparagingly, it is called as Godi media, seem to have lost the momentum. And it is very clear from what we again see. So the Gen Z seems to have found an alternate way of expressing themselves. They found to have got new this thing. And the biggest surprise here is even the administration and the all-powerful Home Ministry and its arms and its intelligence, all of them seem to have somewhere lost. They failed to see how so many people gathered in Delhi yesterday. And there was an admission from Delhi police also that they didn't expect this kind of mobilization. So obviously something which has happened very quickly. And I think people should go back, especially media should go back and introspect where they went wrong.
And one question I should have asked like before is not just the numbers, quantity of unemployment, it's also the quality of unemployment that has created the unrest, I think. And what is your take on that?
No, I think, if you summarize this, I would put it this in a different way. Despite notwithstanding the political outcome of it, whether they will win or not, I think this message is clear. My reading of the protest, of course, every protest in history, we would always have this kind of surprise. If you think of remember the Arab Spring, there's one street vendor was attacked by the police. The whole region actually erupted. But it's not that one street vendor issue. There's something was cooking up the long time. Yes. Media missed it, institution missed it. Same thing here. I think it happens in history always. If there's something undercurrent happening, and the curated narrative or controlled narrative, or otherwise also doesn't stop that. It erupts. I think here the eruption is, for me, if I had to summarize, diagnose this, given the limited information, looking at the media information and numbers, I think broadly we can classify into three aspects. Definitely the education institutions, series of repeated mess up with the exams, NEET and before, other exams. There's a kind of distrust that, there's something going on. I think we need to fix that. I think that's a demand, legitimate and very clear. It's not about NEET alone. There's a series of things within the education system, including quality of education. I think we need to think of. That is also, I think we are not articulating it well, but perhaps it might, if you talk in detail, perhaps you would get that impression. Second, of course, the economy, the broader jobs, not just in terms of numbers and the quantity, but the quality of jobs, the decent jobs. What these guys actually graduate now, those even the Gen Z, they really have a fear that I don't want to go and just doing Uber and Ola and Swiggy and Zomato having a 4-year degree. And that too in advanced, courses. But that's what the market offers as of now. Even if you go to the big companies or even the core sector, you don't seem to be seeing any pathways of mobility or guarantee some kind of decent job that ILO, the International Labour Organization, defines. This is definitely a matter. I think the third important thing I would also see, the trust in the governance, trust in the system, political institution, is also somewhere I think there's a trust deficit. I don't know whether it would like to maybe Srinivasan would throw a light on
so there is a certain stress here. It has also happened, if I have to connect with the rise of social media and the rise of right and the righteous politics, which was being advocated, that I think it has its own limitations. So the politician themselves are delegitimized over a period of time. If you see the way the opposition was dealt with and the narrative which was built that politics is all corrupt, politics is all dishonest, politics is all rent-seeking, self-seeking. I mean, the whole political class was branded in a certain manner, and it's not just in India. Even look at Trump, the way he looks at the entire opposition, he even now calls his election was stolen. So it not just delegitimized the media, it delegitimized the institutions. Yes. And it also delegitimized in large way the media, politics, institution, all of this. So I think there is certain distress. Yeah. That's what he's trying to articulate. That's this whole system, certain distress is built, and and this is amplified by the social media. And then you have been consuming a lot of this, and probably that's what we are seeing.
So I think, yeah, so outcome, irrespective of the political outcome of it, whether it is whether the exam is restored, I think we need to. It also offers an opportunity,
Right.
For everybody, including media, academicians, politicians, to reflect on this fundamental question asked to institution, the education institution. What is that? Are you going to run the business as usual? Are you going to deeply reflect on thinking about fixing this, and employment strategy, or even economic broad strategies? And the institution restoring faith, because they are the future. The youth are the future. Because India is, remember, we should also keep this in mind, India is the youngest country in the world.
Right.
Its Gen Z population is 29 crore of this between 15 to 26. And if you millennials, if you add it, roughly around another 35 crores. So it's almost, it's the youngest population in the world, and the future lies with that section. And I think it's important of all the, civil, every section, stakeholders to come together and reflect on this. I think that's a moment, I would think.
And lastly, I want to have both of your takes on this. Irrespective of what happens to the CJP or the resignation of the requested resignation of Dharmendra Pradhan, what is one permanent change this protest has caused to the political aspects of our country?
Yeah, one thing which has happened, I mean, there is an interesting article which reminds me that the politics of protest is come back center stage.
Exactly.
So, earlier it's very difficult for the government to now say any protest was seen painted as anti-national, or it was, it has some ulterior motives, it was sectional. All those things were being constantly attributed to those. I mean, that kind of this agitation, because it's about education, it is not about one particular class or community, or it's not based on any, it's a larger aspiration which everybody wants. So I think in that sense there's been a change in character. That's one definite thing which has happened on July 20th.
I think for me, the modern democratic constitution, core values, one of the core values is about ordinary people. Do they have ordinary people voice? We don't know who is this gentleman now called Abhijit. I'm not getting full name. Abhijit. So Abhijit Tipke. So I think could change. It's just one individual. I think that's the beauty of. I think there's something that learning. It's nothing is invincible. I think the small voice can have a meaning, and as a.
So has this protest left us with a sense of optimism?
Very much.
Certainly, yeah.
Certainly. And it also certainly offers an opportunity to reflect on how we conduct ourselves in most of the things.
Thank you both of you for the insightful conversation.
Thank you.